Over the last year, I've been writing the history of my world. And my approach has been quite simple. I'm combining Minecraft's own history with some of the ideas the developers never implemented. And to stitch all of that together, I'm using all of my old Minecraft worlds as the setting for this journey. So let's dive in as I show how all of that will fit this narrative and what to expect for the future as I craft the ultimate timeline of my world. We begin in a place called Antares, created in 1.19. I spent over 1000 days playing here and building a kingdom on the snowy biome. Every time I die on it, I redesign my skin. This is to represent the new king or queen that is now the new ruler. This gimmick is what sparked all the ideas for what came later. Currently, there have been 6 deaths, and the 7th ruler is trying to reclaim the kingdom that was taken by pillagers in the last raid. I won't go into too much detail in this world right now, as I'm currently working on a short series that will take place here. All we need to know about Antares, however, is that this librarian/historian here managed to travel back in time, thus kicking off this whole timeline. Now, let's discuss how this timeline works. As I can't use Minecraft days anymore, I thought of a much better way to count the passage of time. In my world, each Minecraft version is an era, and each short update inside the version is a period. For example, 1.21 is the Tricky Trials era, and 1.21.4 is the Garden Awakens period. So the time traveler ended up stuck in the InfDev era. But this is not when the timeline of events started in this world. I'll take you further back than this to explain a few things that came before this period of time. The first things we know about the world is in the pre-classic era. Only one species of mob appeared at this time. Steve. Many Steves used to live on a small island floating above the void. Other than grass and stone, cobblestone and dirt could also be found, as well as planks and saplings. Not much else happened here, so we move forward. The second era, Classic, came after. The world became surrounded by water, and the island got many new blocks. This is the first time we see iron, gold, and diamond. New mobs also appeared in the Classic era, such as zombies, skeletons, creepers, spiders, sheep, and pigs. The terrain became much more diverse, with hills, trees, caves, and bodies of water. The InDev era is when things really picked up. Some mobs learned how to craft things and soon started to reshape the world around them. This led to the creation of the first tools and weapons the world has ever seen. Crafting tables and furnaces helped them survive the danger of the hostile mobs that roamed the world. And for the first time, the crafters discovered agriculture, planting their first seeds. The first works of art were made in InDev, Those early mobs depicted their day-to-day life through paintings that still live to this day. There were 2 new mobs in this era, Ranos and Beast Boys, and Steve got 2 new variants. Those new mobs, however, were to be the last ones to see in Dev Island. Chaos soon took over, turning day into night and the ocean into lava. This was hell, the end of the in-dev era. A few mobs managed to survive the apocalypse. They made their way to the new lands and kickstarted a new era of the world. InfDev. So, up until this point, I've taken the game pretty much as it was presented and made it as my official timeline. I used the Hell dimension of InDev as an apocalyptic event that destroyed the island, and made a distinction between mobs that can and cannot craft, hence the term crafters. But now, I'm going to start getting a little more creative with this story. Some familiar mobs will start appearing in the world, even some that were not introduced to the game until much later in its development. There will even be some that were proposed to be in the game, but were later discarded. The InfDev era began, and the world seemed a very different place than before. No longer mobs were confined to a small island. Now they had millions of blocks to wander. This is when Infinite Generation first appeared. Now, the early days of InfDev were troublesome, to say the least. Not only those early periods had many bugs, but supposedly bizarre structures could be found. There are accounts of a brick pyramid that goes all the way to build limit, and an obsidian wall that stretches on forever, in all 4 directions. 7 species of mobs could be found in this new world, and a new one appeared during this time. A bug. But this glitchy world would not last long, and soon it would be reshaped one last time. So, it is at this point that I'll introduce a new world to the timeline. Eteria, created in version 2010-04-15. Eteria is the foundation of everything that will come later in the timeline. Everything will be connected to this world. So, right off the bat, we see an explosion of mob diversity. 4 new crafters appeared: rascals, chokers, dragons, and villagers. They would get together near spawn and work to build the first civilization of the world, Aurora. This is also where the time traveler from Antares arrived. Under the name of Chunks, he would become the leader of this Dawn civilization. Their society flourished in those early days, and different species learned new abilities. Rascals became great miners, diving deeper and deeper for resources. Chokers learned how to build, with some structures reaching the sky. Villagers became farmers and implemented an economy system. And the dragons dedicated their lives into learning about the mysteries of the world. Beast Boys and Bugs would eventually migrate to Aurora and help the civilization grow. They also shed some light into the obscure past of the world as they witnessed those early events firsthand. No new blocks were found at this period, and the world, though stable, still had a few bugs and quirks here and there. Hostile mobs, for example, would constantly spawn no matter the light level. There were no caves, which meant digging through a lot of stone to find resources, and at the very bottom of the world, a lava ocean was present, likely left over from the great in-depth hell event that took place in the last era. New discoveries were being made. Doors, signs, and ladders were created in period 607 and buckets in 615, allowing mobs to finally transport water. But in 616, two big events changed the world. Caves started to appear on unexplored lands, with a bedrock layer at the very bottom. And in Aurora, the lava that existed deep underground simply vanished, exposing what laid under the world: void. It is during this period that the dragons made contact with a strange mob that would often be seen popping in and out of existence. This contact with them changed the world forever, even more so than the geological anomalies that they just experienced. The dragons learned to use the galactic language, thus becoming the first magic users of history. The more they dabbled into magic, the more corrupted they became. Soon, they would experiment on the citizens of Aurora to create an evil block, a monster spawner. Those experiments did not go unnoticed, however, and the dragons were banished from Aurora. They went east, never to be seen again in the Infdev era. As the world entered period 629, Aurorans started to fear the return of the dragons. They would often find monster spawners in dungeons in faraway caves. They all started to leave. Some went north, some went south, most went west, but none to the east. And not before long, Chunks was the last mob standing in Aurora. He collected a few spawners for studying and retreated to the northwest of Aurora, where he built his base and lived the last days of his life. So the end of Infdev is pretty dark. The first civilization was now in ruins, the world seemed pretty desolate, and every mob feared the dragons. But not everything was sad news though. During Infdev, many discoveries were made, such as minecarts and stairs, and flowers and mushrooms, absent from the world for almost an entire era, started to appear again on the fields. The early days of Alpha were calm. Every mob had left the spawnlands, and most adopted a nomadic life, as they were afraid of settling down and being found by the dragons. The first cows and chickens could be seen roaming the grasslands. Deep underground, slimes were jumping around. Skeletons learned how to ride spiders and became even more of a threat during the nights. And a new crafter mob spawned into the world. The piglins were located to the south, about 2,000 blocks away from spawn. There, they built an impressive mining site where they collected many valuable resources, including a new block, redstone. But it was across the Alpha Sea that they built the first town in the world, Porkopolis. With a rather simple design, the town has parks, shops, restaurants, apartment buildings, weapon and toolsmith services, a bank, and a library. To the south, they grow wheat and sugarcane. Their diet consists of bread and milk. Pork chops are forbidden here, along with some other items. New blocks appeared in the world in this era, along with sugarcane and redstone, already mentioned. They also encountered cactus on sand and clay on riverbanks. The mobs of Alpha managed to make even more intricate items from those raw materials. Books, bricks, and redstone tools were crafted for the first time, providing more block diversity in the construction of the town. Fences and iron doors were created for extra protection, and boats for transportation. Minecarts got 2 new variants, and leather replaced wool in the crafting of armor. In the fields of arts, the world saw the creation of new paintings and music, with a jukebox being invented to play those discs. Sculptures were also being constructed to honor important figures. These early periods seemed bright, and Percopolis flourished. More and more mobs would visit the town in order to exchange goods, and sometimes even settle down here. Elsewhere in the world, a new family of blocks makes an appearance for the first time: snow, snowballs, and ice. We move now to a third Minecraft world, one created in Alpha 1.0.4. The only way to obtain those new items was by starting over, as there are no biomes in the game yet. The inhabitants of Glacia were Ranas, who managed to survive the InDev hell. For the entirety of the InfDev era, they were adrift on the endless ocean of lava that took over the world. Eventually, they would land on the shores of the frozen waste. They survived the harsh conditions by making their first base inside caves. They became experts in working with ice. They built systems to farm snowballs in Alpha 1.0.5, and collected stacks upon stacks of snowballs. They made improvements to their base, but eventually moved to the surface to build their town. As there were no other species of mobs living nearby, the community of Ranas struggled technologically. They rarely mine on diamond level and never discovered the properties of redstone to power their town. Their community is small, so everyone has to work together to survive. Their town today is vast, with housing, shops, a mine, gardens, and a temple. The government house sits higher than every other building in town, and the eldest of them is the one in charge. Ranas don't play an important part in the events of the world right now. They are far away from all the action. No mob knows of their existence. They speak a different language to indicate how cut off they are from the rest of the world. So we move back to Eteria, where things started to heat up once again, as we entered the last stretch of the Alpha era. All of the progression Percopolis was going through did not go unnoticed by the dragons. They spent an entire era at Dragon Island, experimenting with their new magical abilities. We enter Alpha 1.2, and the dragons are ready to leave their island and reclaim their home. But there is no one to take Aurora from, as every mob had already departed to other parts of the world. The dragons started to build portals to another dimension and bringing back new blocks to build their base. The spawnlands are about to change forever, and the name Aurora will be buried under the new base that is being constructed by the Dragon Lords. The dragons sent emissaries to Porkopolis. They need allies at this time, as there is an entire dimension that needs to be explored, and they have no intentions of going there themselves. So, this is where we are at the moment. My world is entering a very tense period, with the rise of the dragons at the very center of the world. But not all hope is lost. A new power is emerging. By the Great Monolith, the rascals have set up their base. They have been digging stacks and stacks of resources from the underground. More and more mobs have been settling near them. The region is growing. So, this is all I have written so far. I just started playing version 1.2, which added biomes in the Nether, so I don't really know all the details of where the story is going from here. And as I work on this world, I have some other things to show. In the beginning of this video, I mentioned I was working on a short series that takes place in the present, which is version 1.21.4 for me. So next, I will probably be uploading those videos. I'm really excited to get back there. I haven't played in that world for almost a year. They are all connected, let's not forget. But I need time to get the events of the Alpha era more fleshed out. I also wanted to say that I have 4 more worlds that still didn't appear in the timeline. Those will probably come out later, as I have no idea how I'm going to connect them yet. They are all later versions, so I still have time until we get there. One day, all of them will be one world that I can travel to. This will probably take me years to complete, but it's a journey worth taking. If you enjoyed it, and want to follow along, please consider subscribing to the channel. That helps a lot. And any questions, let me know in the comments. Thanks for watching. See you in the next one. Bye bye.